Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of This Week in Raider Sports. We're doing a very unique episode today as it's not just This Week in Raider Baseball or This Week in Raider Basketball. We have so much great news that have occurred throughout the past week. So overall, I just figured, hey, why not make a combination? So overall, once again, a lot to talk about. And it really has been an exciting time to be at Riverdale High School as a student or an athlete. Whatever it may be, it certainly has been a great time to be a Raider, as they say on the school campus. But we'll start off with baseball. The Riverdale varsity baseball team recently started up their brand new season in 2016, and it all began with their preseason schedule, what we like to call the Raider Baseball Preseason Classic, and it all began once again on Tuesday, February 2nd, where it started off rough in the beginning, but the Raiders clawed back and scored 7 unanswered runs to defeat the Cape Coral Seahawks by a 7-3 final score. And once again, that rough start was at the top of the third inning when Cape Coral was able to scratch across 3 runs to take a 3-0 lead. But once we got into the fourth inning of play, you saw the Raiders get on the board, and then all the way until the end of the game, they scored 7 runs to take the win 7-3. Raiders got back on the ball field on February 4th on Thursday night, 2 nights later, where they once again played with heart. They played all the way through the ball game in a rain-shortened contest, but unfortunately, they fell 1 run short, 5-4 loss to the Canterbury Cougars, and that game was played 6.5 innings. It was called 3 outs early due to, once again, a nearby rainstorm that came by Pringle Field on the campus of Riverdale High School. So it was a very wild game. Once again, both teams played with heart, and it was a preseason game, a game where stats did not count in the record books, but the guys played with heart, no doubt about that. Not only on Riverdale's side, but Canterbury as well. With the competition, in my opinion, you would have thought it was a postseason game. And eventually, towards the end of the game, there was a lot of intensity, and at one point, even the benches cleared due to the physicality that was getting out of control. And this happened in the middle of a rainstorm. And about 15 minutes into that storm, the Riverdale baseball manager, Coach Bob Pringle, and the umpires of that ball game, they decided that it was the best decision to call the rest of the game, and Canterbury won 5-4. And even though the stats do not count in a game of preseason baseball, it really is a great workout for the kids to prepare for that upcoming baseball season, especially after the long off season. So, great, successful preseason pair of games for the Riverdale kids, as well as the kids of Cape Coral and Canterbury as well. Raiders started their regular season schedule last week, where they played a 3-game series as a part of the Early Bird Tournament in Southwest Florida. It all began on February 8th. Rough bounces for the Raiders in that game, where they fell to Island Coast 7-3 final score. 2 nights later, Raiders still could not catch a break as they lost on February 10th 2-1 final score to the Red Knights of North Fort Myers High School. But then they were able to vent their frustrations and come through on the win column for their first win of the regular season schedule, defeating Oasis High School. You are not hearing this wrong. I am saying this correct. 23-3 was your final score of that contest. Riverdale defeated Oasis High School in a game that lasted only 5 innings due to the mercy rule and the Florida High School Athletic Association. Raiders exploded at the top half of the 5th, scoring 11 runs across to eventually win the ball game. 23-3 once again. Mercy rule was called in 5 innings. So let's hope the Raiders can keep all that energy going into their next ball game, which is going to be played on Tuesday, February 16th, when they take on Bishop Verot. The Vikings of Bishop Verot High School are going to be on their way to Pringle Field on the campus of Riverdale High School. Bishop Barrow, not a team you want to mess with in the least bit. They were the Class 4A runner-ups last season. They made it all the way to the championship game in their district, but they lost in the championship game to Trinity Christian of Jacksonville, Florida. So, a little bit disappointing for them after such a successful season, but in reality, it's an honor to get that far in the postseason, at least if you ask me. But they're hoping to rebound this season. They're starting off rough 0-2, so let's see how the Raiders can handle them. Once again, Tuesday, February 16th at Riverdale, the Raiders are going to be taking on Bishop Barrow. That game will have a 7 p.m. first pitch start time. And that's all you need to know for the baseball team and what they've had to offer this season. It's now time to take a look at your Riverdale boys varsity basketball team, and they have been riding on success. It all started back in their district semifinal contest on February 2nd. Their district rival, Gulf Coast Sharks, traveled to the Raider Rock Gym at Riverdale High School, and the Raiders, they relied off of that energy from the fans, packed house, and they were able to come up with the victory, 76-68. The Raiders won the game on top. And then later on, February 5th, the Raiders were on the road to take on the Bobcats of Northport High School, and what a game that was. It was your Class 7A District 12 Championship. Third time's the charm for the Riverdale Raiders as they upset Northport. 43-39 was your final score. Boy, what a game that was. And it really does have to feel good for the Raiders as well for multiple occasions. First of all, Northport has frustrated Riverdale all season long. Northport, they defeated Riverdale twice previously in the regular season. And the Raiders finally able to come through, pick up the win against Northport, and eliminate them in what was the most important game of them all in that season series between the Raiders and the Bobcats. So, Class 7A District 12 Championship, it's in the hands of the Raiders. 43-39, once again, is your final score. This was the first time that the Raiders have won their district championship in decades. In fact, here's a little bit of a fun fact for you fans out there. Last time the Raiders won their district championship, the Raiders head coach Damon Jones, he was a sophomore in high school. And that just tells you how long it's been, long overdue, and the Raiders finally have that gold in their hands. But they're not done there. On February 11th, the Raiders were back at home at the Raider Rock Gym, as visiting were the Palmetto Tigers of Miami. Raiders snuck right past them 57-50 in a tight contest to win the regional quarterfinals. And the Raiders are going to move on as they face the Bradenton Lakewood Ranch Mustangs in the regional semifinal contest. That game's going to take place in Bradenton. Lakewood Ranch Mustangs 22-5 this year. Riverdale 17-10. So it's going to be a fun game. I predict another tight one, and it really can't go either way. Very recently, Raiders have had one heck of a good time here in the postseason. It's been a thrill hearing the great news about them recently. And in my opinion, the major key for the Riverdale Raiders is to just keep that gas pedal down. They need to keep on attacking, and that's something I saw towards the end of the regular season. The Raiders, they attacked their opponents, and even when they were up by so many points, they kept dominating, and they did not stop the pressure until that game was over. No seconds left in that fourth quarter. So I say they have to keep that mentality up. They need to keep that game style going, and I think they really can do some great things. So once again, it's going to be on February 16th, Riverdale on the road to take on Lakewood Ranch Mustangs in Bradenton. I really can't wait to hear how it goes, and hopefully it will be a big win once again for your Riverdale Raiders. And that's going to do it for today's episode of This Week in Raider Baseball, as well as This Week in Raider Basketball. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's broadcast. I'm Nick Rush, signing off.